This is my Fender Strat. It's a 1988 standard Strat. It has modern machine heads and a modern 2-point bridge. I will show you how to restring this, but in another video I will show you how to do Strats that have the vintage style machine heads and tuning machines. The bridge doesn't really change things too much. It's almost the same with the vintage ones as it is the modern ones. I'm going to restring it using some 942 any ball strings. These are the same thickness, it's the same gauge string as what's already on it. If you change the gauge string that's on your guitar, it will change the way both the neck and the bridge sit. How much it changes depends on the guitar and also how much the difference is between the string that you were putting on it to the string that was already on it. If you put a much heavier string on it, you can expect the bridge to come forward and the neck to come forward. The guitar will be, quite a bit harder to play and might sound a little bit more out of tune as you go up the neck. If you put a much lighter string on it, you'll find the neck could dip backwards or have the bridge also go backward if there is play in the bridge. Some bridges are set up so that they're flush against the body of the guitar. Mine is pretty conservatively set up, so it's just got a little bit of wiggle room there. But some Strats and Strat players like to have their bridges tilted forward, which means if you put a lighter string on it, it would drop back potentially all the way down to the body. Problem with this being is that you're likely to get some buzzing as you play in different parts of the neck because the relationship between the string height and the neck has changed. So yeah, same gauge string is best. I'll just run you through changing the low E string first. I'm going to use a string winder. The guitar is just on a towel on the table so it doesn't scratch the table, or vice versa, have the table mark the guitar. I am using a neck rest. You don't have to use a neck rest. I like them just because it makes it a little bit easier. You don't have to use one of these either. You can just save yourself a little bit of time by doing so. I also like to use those guys as well because they speed up the process significantly. So we'll start off just by taking off the low E string. So you just wind the string down as you would if you were tuning flat until it becomes very sloppy. And should be able to take it off relatively easy then. Just be careful as you pull it out that it doesn't come back and scratch you on the finger. I tend to then clip the top of the string off because it makes it easier to remove from the bridge as we go. Wire cutters, definitely have a set of those while you're doing this. And then this is probably the interesting part. You bring the string out through the back of the guitar, and these holes here hopefully line up with a slot or individual holes that are on the back plate there. Now if they don't line up well enough and you're having difficulty getting out, you can just take a screwdriver and take that back plate off altogether, but then you just pull the string out. This guitar was in tune when I started doing this, so what I'll do is when I replace the string is I'll bring the string up approximately to in tune as well, and then that way it'll stay pretty even. If you haven't restrung before, this does make it easier. When I finish restringing it though, when I do the next 5, I'll do them all together. I don't recommend that if you haven't been stringing for a while. Sometimes it makes it more difficult to get the guitar to feel like it's getting back in tune quicker. So again, we're just going to feed that string back into the same hole as the last one came out of. The strings do come out in order from most packs, but just be careful that you are putting the right string on, because if you accidentally put the wrong string on, you'll end up ruining it and needing to replace it. Pull them all the way through. Just give it a little wiggle and a pull just to make sure it hasn't caught up anywhere inside the bridge there. Make sure it's all the way out. Pull them up tight. As it goes over the saddle, just give it a little bit of pressure there so it feels like it's locking into place. Line it up with our tuning machine and the slot in the nut. Make sure everything's looking nice and straight and good. Then bring it back, feed it all the way through the hole, and again just make sure everything feels right. There's a nice straight line here, fits in the nut slot. And then we want to take the distance of about, in this case, the distance between about 1.5 of the machine heads, and that'll give you a rough guide to how much slack you need to take on, so you end up with between 2 and 4 complete wraps around. Now you only want 2 to 3 maybe on the lower E string, not too much more than that. You might give yourself a little bit more as you work up to the skinnier strings. Because they're a plain string, they're just that little bit more likely to slip, so an extra wind or two around the string post that we've just put the string through. That'll just help make sure that we don't have any slipping. So just a little bit more for those guys. So we check everything again, and then I'm going to put my finger here really close to the hole where the string is diving into there, and as I wind up, that'll create a really nice even L shape, and I'll make sure that the string winds over the top each time. So this excess bit of string is coming over the top, and we're layering down. Every time I do a full revolution of the post, the string winds downward. It should look a little bit like the way they make beehives look in cartoons, just evenly working down in layers. And then we get him pretty close to in tune. You can use a tuner if you want to be sure. There we go, actually that was in tune. Then I'll tend to give it a little bit of a stretch. I've done a video on string stretching, so you can check that out if that helps. A little bit of a stretch up like that. And then just bringing it back up to pitch. I'm just using the A string there as a reference at the 5th fret. Hopefully you do know how to tune by using your 5th fret reference note. Yeah, so from here, I'll then take the string and it's leaning up against one side of the hole that it's protruding from. I'll bend it in the same direction. This way I don't have to bother with doing any of the sort of loop and hook style restringing that some people do. If you want to do it that way, that's fine. That's not how I do it. I find if I do this nice and neatly and accurately, there's absolutely no problems with tuning stability. So this way is just fine, and it's less time consuming, particularly when you're taking the string off again. People loop around and kind of lock their strings on again. That's fine if they want to do that, but if you've broken a string and you need to change it quickly during performance, something like that, it does slow you down. So doing it this way is the best way for me. Anyway, I then cut the string nice and close so it's not sticking out, it's not going to scratch me at all. You have string sticking out messily, you're just as likely to get poked or scratched during it. And there we go. That's basically how you do the string, and then you just repeat that process for the rest of the strings. We'll go ahead and do that. I might speed things up a little bit with this little guy here, and away we go. Okay, for the final tune, I like to have the guitar up in playing position. That way the weight of the bridge isn't pulling down at all, which can tend to make your guitar sound a little bit sharp if you have it sitting up off the body. Obviously, if you have your guitar with the bridge flush against the body, it doesn't make any difference. But yeah, just for this last little tiny bit of a tune, I just gave those strings another stretch then, so they've gone a little bit flat. We just bring them up, and you just repeat that process a few times to make sure that it's balancing out. Then you probably have a little play for a bit on him, and yeah, should be just about ready to go. So hopefully that helps you restring your own Stratocaster. I will be doing videos on how to string, like I said, Strats that have vintage style machine heads. I'll do Telecasters, I'll do some Les Paul or 335 shaped guitars, just so I can cover most of the different things that you might come up against when you're looking after your own guitars. Yeah, have a great day.